face, but then also looking at the audience looking at his face and being like, what is that? Like, how does he do that? And my father passed away in 2011, but he's not really gone, you know, because he lives through me. And everything I know how to do in terms of how to use my voice to give life to other people came as an example from him. And so today what I want to talk about is turning pain into power. And this is a common phrase. This is a phrase that you hear many, many spiritual teachers talk about. But you know what I don't know if they highlight the into. And that's what I want to talk about today, is the turning pain into power. Because a lot of times you'll hear these really beautiful stories of redemption and of, you know, recovery and people taking a painful situation and turning it somehow into something that benefited them or something they learned from. And that's all well and good, but how did they do it? And that's what I want to talk about today, is what that will look like for all of us. And so, so I want to do an icebreaker. So I want us to go around and just tell us your name, and in one word, tell us why you're here. So you can say, my name is Angie and I'm here to teach. So just put your hand up and then I'll unmute you. Maritza.
Hi, my name is Maritza and I'm here to learn.
Cool, thank you. Anthony.
Hi, my name is Anthony, and I'm here, I want to say learn, but I'm trying to think of something else. I'm here to create community.
I love that. Thanks, Anthony. Alex.
My name's Alex, and yeah, I'm here to learn also, you know, learn more.
Thank you. Rohan.
My name is Rohan. I'm here to heal.
I love that. Extra brownie points for you. Laura. Oh, I'm here.
I'm Laura, and I am here to listen.
Emmanuel.
I'm Emmanuel, and I'm here to encourage.
I love that. Desiree. Wait, you're not unmuted.
Anina, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I'm here to evolve.
I love that. I actually have a tattoo that says that right here. With a picture of a butterfly, because when I was 18 years old, I don't know what told me that, but that was my word. And I had no concept or what or why. And it was this like idea of a metamorphosis, but I was 18, so I hadn't even gotten nowhere near that yet. And now that I feel like a little bit further in that journey, I'm like, that's so crazy how we do things that we don't know why we're doing them, but later on they make sense. So I love that you're here to evolve. Thank you, Desiree. Anne-Marie.
I'm here because for myself personally and professionally, turning pain into power is something that drives me. And so I am here to learn as well.
Thank you. I'm glad you're here. Jasmine, hey girl.
Hey, I'm here in solidarity for myself primarily, but for also my community. So, yeah.
I'm glad you're here. Randy. Don't let me unmute you. Oh, there you're on.
Hi, my name is Randy, and I'm also here to heal.
Glad you're here, Randy. Roman.
My name is Roman, and I'm just here to.
I didn't hear you. What?
I said my name is Roman, and I'm here because this is something new for me. I'm here to learn and just.
Roman, your volume isn't working. Maybe you can type it in the chat.
All right.
Let's see if I put these on. This helps. Did you put it in the chat? Did you put it in the chat?
Yes, I'm putting in the chat.
Roman, put it in the chat. Or are you driving? Oh, I'm here to do things. I'm here to learn. Cool. Thank you. Denise.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I'm here just for Miss Angie as well. I've participated in your workshops before and I really enjoy them. So thank you. So again, I'm just here to learn and grow.
I'm glad you're here, Denise.
Thanks.
Anthony.
Sorry, I went earlier and then I closed my screen and then I moved.
Oh,
So,
yeah, you did go already.
yeah.
Wait, yeah, so you did move. Okay. What was yours again?
I'm sorry?
What was yours again?
To create community.
Oh, yes. Perfect. Okay. Alyssa Bravo. I feel like I'm taking roll in a classroom. Alyssa. Or if they're not there, does that mean they're not at the computer?
They're there. It just means that they're not sharing their video.
Okay. Well, when they come, how about anybody else? If you are here, please show your face so I can. Ariana. Okay. Hey, girl.
Hi, I'm Ariana, and I'm here in support and love and solidarity with my people.
Hey, we're glad you're here, Ariana. Thank you for being here. Who else is available to tell us who they are?
Hi, I'm Joanna. My video is not working, but I'm here to learn and be present today.
I'm glad you're here, Joanna. Thank you for being here. Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Chantal. I'm a writer for PCC at the Courier, and I came to support you and to write a story about the event.
You know what's cool? Thank you for being here, Chantal. The first piece of press I ever received in my life was the PCC Courier.
No way!
So that was, I still have it. I have it in my little memory box, so I always remember that. Who else is here?
Oh.
There's a few people in the chat whose mics aren't working.
Okay.
So Garrett says, my name is Garrett Sepulveda, and I am here to listen and learn. Thank you for allowing me to be here.
Welcome, Garrett.
Fatima says, okay, my name is Fatima, and I'm here to renew myself.
That's a great one. Recharge. Okay. And I'm Adrian, and I'm here to learn. Okay. We got everyone, I think, as many people as we can. And if we get to a point where I see more faces, I'll just ask you on the spot. So the reason why I do that is to want to take a little bit of time just to see where your head is at. Because I'm what they call, but no one's ever called me that. I call myself that. So I'm what I call an intuitive teacher. So I'll have like an outline. But then if someone jogs my memory, or if there's something that enters the space or like energy or something that I feel like, oh, we need to focus on that, then I'll go there and it will just kind of happen. And so no workshop is ever really the same. So thank you for all kind of adding something to the space so far. So what I want to first acknowledge is that we are collectively grieving, just as people, whether that be, you know, you're grieving the loss of a job, or you're grieving the loss of the plans you had for this year, or you're grieving the loss in so many other ways that we can't even imagine. Because as the thing I've noticed about this quarantine is that it's as unique as the person. People's struggles are so unique, and the way that they're reacting, because whether or not you have mental illness affects your experience right now. And I know for me, that has been something I have been struggling with for a while. And then this added stress on top of it, I think we just need to collectively acknowledge that we are collectively grieving in some way, shape, or form. And so I just want to acknowledge that it's okay to, when you name something grief, then all of a sudden other things, other emotions become available to you for you to have. Because if you don't acknowledge that what we're in right now is a global pandemic and that shit is scary and it's a lot and it's, no one knows how to handle this, then it kind of becomes okay when all of that kind of chaos starts to come in your energy space, like if it's your anxiety or just your worries about what might happen or what might not happen or what's gonna happen. Like, it's just so many questions, and when all those questions start to come at once, that's what anxiety is. It's being worried, but in a way that affects your life. And a lot of us are sitting at home not knowing what's gonna happen next. And when you don't have anywhere to go to escape those thoughts, or when you can't really, you know, go do it. Like for me, it was hiking. I would just, when I started to feel kind of like boxed up in my house, I would go hiking. And then all of a sudden the trails were closed. And then it's like, okay, well, what coping mechanisms do I have aside from that? And it turned out not many. So this whole quarantine has been a process of me trying to develop or kind of tease out some coping mechanisms that I was learning in therapy before this, that I was learning in these DBT skills groups that I was going to, and really trying to be like, okay, well, aside from drugs, alcohol, and sex, and making myself busy, what are my other options? And one of the only other ones was writing. And so when everything's kind of started to get to be too much for me, I started writing for the first time in a very long time. And what was interesting to me about that was it was out of pure necessity. I have been wanting to write a book about my life and my family for a really long time, but I wasn't letting myself. I just wasn't. And I don't know if it's because I didn't want to acknowledge some of the things that I would need to acknowledge in order to write that book, or confront some of those things. But I've started to find that in those moments of extreme depression or extreme kind of anxiety or just the unknowing, when I started to write the book, the moment the book got an opportunity to exist, there it was. And then I started to understand what was happening, why being so close to my mother in a really confined space, why that was so triggering for me. And then all of the things I started to write, when I would wake up and I would be so angry that I wouldn't even want to leave my room because the energy was just so ugly, because I was not acknowledging that I have zero relationship with her. And so then when I started to wake up and I was like, well, either I go out there and I like basically spit venom at everyone around me because I'm unhappy, then that's when the writing started to be like, what are you feeling? Naming the words, like naming the things that were making me angry. And that started to started to feel this little bit of pain release. Like I was able to just kind of like, whew, like a little bit of pressure just got released. And then I started to see how consistent my writing got. And before you know it, I have so many words and so much amount of this book that I'm writing, whereas before it was just an idea. But because this started to become a necessity, this coping mechanism, because it was the only one I had. It was the only one I had that I knew worked, aside from the ones that I was trying to gain by going to therapy and DBT skills group, and also, you know, trying to start a business so that I could, you know, easy button my way out of feeling any of my emotions. Because being busy or keeping busy is another form of coping. And a lot of times we keep ourselves busy so that we don't have to confront what's happening in our lives or the emotions that we don't want to feel because they're not pleasant. So in that collective grieving and that acknowledgement of like the shit we're going through, I just want us to kind of take a deep breath and just take a moment of silence and like let whatever comes to you come into your head after hearing what I just said. So I'm gonna take a deep breath. We are collectively grieving for all of the plans we had and the world we thought we knew, and that's okay. So I want you all to just kind of, if you haven't already, many of us have had to become therapists for ourselves in the past couple weeks or days. And so maybe some of you have already come to this conclusion, but the way I operate in my life is that I don't wait until someone gives me a degree anymore or a green light to say, you know what, you're wise now, so go ahead and go share your shit with the world. Like, no, as soon as I get the information, I'm giving it back. So the information I give today might be different from the workshop I give tomorrow, but I'm coming with the best that I got right now. This is the best knowledge I have access to in the moment, and that's what I want to share with you. And so I came across something that I thought was really cool. So I'm going to share my screen with you, if I could figure out how to do that. Oh, it just says share screen. Can you see it? Can you see it? Okay. So I want y'all to listen to this real quick.
Between the worlds. In a small, dingy bar between the worlds, a holy man sat having a drink with the Creator. Your omniscience, please tell me about heaven and hell. Oh, come with me, I'll show you. And so the Creator took him to the back of the bar where there were two identical doors, and he opened the first one. When the holy man looked inside, he saw a large room. At the center of the room, there was a round table, and in the middle of that, a huge stew pot simmering and giving off the most fragrant, delicious smell. All around the table sat thin, grey, sickly people, and each of them had a spoon with an extremely long handle. As he watched, he saw that whilst they were able to get their spoons into the pot and take a spoonful, because of the long handles, they couldn't get the end of the spoon into their mouths. The holy man was overcome with pity at their plight. He turned to the Creator, who said, "This is hell." He opened the second door, and the holy man looked inside to see the same room with the same round table, the same stew pot. But around this table, the people were robust and healthy, fat and jolly, and they were laughing and sharing stories and jokes. "I don't understand," said the holy man. And the Creator replied, "Just watch." And as he did, he saw each of the people pick up their spoons, dip them in the stew pot, and feed each other.
Okay, so just put your hand up and I'll unmute you if anything came up for you about that. Like what was that? Can you like kind of translate what that was? Anyone? Did it speak to anyone? Oh my God, sorry. Okay, did anyone did that come up for anyone? I'm trying to look at both the pages. Laura?
So for me, I feel like I've heard it or seen it before. Like it's a common theme, but the end of it always, it's always a surprise to me. And I don't know why, but hearing that they're feeding each other, it kind of really, really for me, it comes up why I'm here. Why I work for this program, why I do this work. They're taking care of each other. They're a community, and that's why they're all fed. And so that was what came up for me.
Yeah, exactly. That was the same thing that came up for me, because we must, the way we feed each other is by healing in community. And so feeding each other looks like holding spaces like this, because today we are here to attempt to confront whatever pain that this virus or this life has caused for us, so that we can attempt to heal from it. And the way that that kind of gets set into motion, because everybody's not always ready to do that. That's a very difficult thing. And so the way that I attempt to foster that in other people is just by telling you how I got mine. That's it. The only story I can ever speak from, the only experience I can ever speak from is my own. And there's power in that if you tell the truth about what happened and how it felt and how you got to the other side. And so, or how you're still attempting to get to the other side. And so that's what I'm gonna attempt to do here today. So I want us to start by releasing any silent expectations that we may have of perfection, of what today's outcome will or should be like, or what your own healing should look or sound like, because none of that is beneficial to getting anything out of this. So in order to not waste your time, release all expectations of perfection for especially me, but for also you too. So here's the truth. What I know for a fact is that if you don't feel it, you can't heal it. It's not an option. It's not an option to move on from something unless you're willing to feel the emotion that came with it. Because the truth is, we're all human, and no one is above human emotion. And so when things make you sad, or when things hurt you or make you angry, ignoring them does nothing other than kind of metastasize it in your body. It just kind of starts to grow into this like cancer that eats away at you, but from the inside out. And that's extremely unhelpful. And so I know that for a fact, because it kind of, I did that and I spiraled. And so let me tell you how I know that. So in 2011, like I mentioned, my father died, and I was grieving and I was emotionally suffering, but I didn't know how to properly process my emotions. So the thing about emotions is, as hard as you try to numb them, they still show up somehow. Like mine showed up in my behavior. So like I mentioned before, I tried partying, prescription drugs, alcohol, sex, relationships, and none of it could fill the hole that I had in my life, because the fact was that I was struggling with a severe mental illness, and I was trying to numb mental and emotional pain of losing my father with the physical things in my life, the things that I thought felt good in the moment, but did nothing for me in the long run. And so I was getting all of my validation from external sources. And so what I figured out is that numbing equals rejecting reality. And so that's what I was doing, is I was constantly rejecting the reality around me, and that leads to delusional thinking. You're not living in the same reality as everyone else. And so while the rest of the world would have lost their father and probably maybe, I don't know, spoke to a grief counselor, or nobody around me, the access to the wisdom around me was a little bit limited because the people around me didn't have access to much more knowledge than that themselves. And so there's all this grief that's occurring in my family, but no one has been an example of how to process that. And so the whole thing, the only message that I receive is being strong that's it. That's your option. Be strong or what, die? Like those are the two options. And that was kind of what it seemed like to me, because my mom had been so much of a survivor that I didn't realize that, surviving is the bare minimum. Like, what about thriving? What about living? When do I get to do that? And so you don't get to do that until you feel your human emotions. And the human emotions that I was denying was the grief of losing my father, just because I was scared of it. I thought it might kill me. I thought if I acknowledged how badly that hurt, that I would die from pain, die of a broken heart. And so the only way that I knew how to do that was to release a little bit of it on the page. And that's probably the reason why I haven't written a book since 2016, because I wasn't processing properly. And had I been continuing to write and using the coping mechanisms that I had been given, then I wouldn't have tried to numb everything so much. And so we numb because we would rather not feel the pain of reality. That's what I know. And when we ignore or try to numb our feelings, we betray ourselves. That's the biggest message I can give you, is this like idea of betraying yourself. Because when you do something that you know is bad for you, and you know, but you choose to, like, there are moments where you can pretend like you don't know, but after a certain amount of times of getting the exact same result and you keep on going and doing the same thing, that's a decision after a while. And no one's judging you for that, but I want you to at least acknowledge it, because you know better. But we continue to hurt ourselves and betray ourselves because we don't believe we deserve any better. And so this is betrayal, because we are not giving ourselves the opportunity to grow. So you basically emotionally stunt yourself when you try to numb anything. And so pain equals growth. Numbing equals rejecting reality. And so, like Rumi said, like one of my favorite poets of all time, the wound is where the light enters you. And so if you refuse to let yourself be wounded, the light cannot enter you. It just can't. And so I want to talk a little bit about a list that I made for myself, because when I was in the beginning of this quarantine, I was cool. Like, I was fine with everything that was happening, because I was already doing that. I was already in quarantine. I was already in isolation, because I had just detoxed from, I was addicted to Adderall for like over 10 years. And I had, when I finally was prescribed my 5th medication and diagnosed with my, like, however many other mental illness, they finally gave me like my 5th medication. And that's when I was like, what the hell is this? Like, what? I have to take 5 like antipsychotic medications a day, like, and then I have to take a sleeping pill because the Adderall won't let me sleep. So it was like this cycle of bullshit that I could not get myself out of, until finally, like, it was like the moment she put that medication in my hands, it was like a button got pushed and it was like, ding, wake up, bitch. Look what you're doing. Like, you're just here. It's like they just keep, every time you come in with a new problem, they give you another medication. And why is the prescription never to talk about how you feel? Why is the prescription never to go deeper there? And that's when I started to realize that my life was not a result of decisions I had made. My life was a result of the decisions I had made while I was on fucking drugs. And so I had to look around and look at that and admit to it and come to terms with it, and that was hard. And that was when I decided that I wasn't going to take no Adderall, no Klonopin, no Latuda, no Lamictal, none of the other stuff. I wasn't taking anything. But I also knew that being the daughter of 2 recovering heroin addicts, and just growing up in NA, taught me that detox is the worst shit you'll ever go through in your life. And so I was scared. But it was like, there's like 2 things filling up. It's like, which one? Yes, scared or pissed. Like, my pissed one was way higher than my scared, because I was like, I don't even have control over anything in my life right now. And when I started to realize that, it got me so mad at myself. And so that was outweighing the scared part. And so when I decided to go through with the detox, it was painful. It was extremely painful, because I wasn't taking any of my mood medication anymore, and I was living with my mom. And so that was just not a winning combination, because she struggles with the same kind of explosive, like, reactions, and just like highly sensitive, but she doesn't have any medication to help her with that. And so I was the only one that was kind of keeping the even keel, like, even somewhat. And then when that was gone, it was just, and that first month was, it was hell. It was hell. But it also started to create this, like, bond between me and my mom that I feel now is being evolved. But it started because of the decision to do the detox, because I mean, I couldn't get out of bed. It was because when you detox off of a upper like Adderall, what happens is you crash. But I mean, I hadn't stopped taking it in almost 12 years. So I never had a detox period. So the crash was extremely severe for me. And combined with not taking any, all the doctors told me not to do this, but I'm the kind of person, I don't know if you can relate, that when I get I do what I want to do. And I don't really, because this was no longer a medical prescription, like this was a soul prescription. This was something different. Like, I'm not gonna talk to no MD about my soul, because that's not what they're educated in. And so I knew what was right for me, just like you know what's right for you. And so I had to come to terms with all of these things that were really difficult for me. And so I've started to learn how to make lists in order to make sense of things. And so an honest list of things that this virus has taken from me, this is what it felt like at the time. My healing, my routine, my DBT skills group, my hiking, my therapy, my income, my future sales, my sense of normalcy, my safety. Honestly, my opportunity to shine, all of the opportunities, all of the gigs I had lined up where I was planning on proving everybody wrong, because there was a point in my career where I kind of fell out for a while, and this was going to be that year that I climbed back on top, and I didn't need nobody else, and I didn't need to ask for nothing from nobody. I could go get it myself. And guess what? I booked all those dates. And then what happened? And so when you're getting your validation from an external source like that, then when something happens and the world shifts and you no longer have that opportunity, then what? Then what? Then you gotta figure out where else you can get it. And so this virus has taken things from me, but it's also given things to me. And what I want is for us to do an activity. And the activity is going to be to make 2 lists. One is a list of the things the virus has taken from you. And the second list is a list of the things the virus has given you. And I'm gonna go ahead and we'll just do a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back and reconvene on that. Everybody feel good? Okay, cool. If you all feel more comfortable, feel free to take off your video so that you can just like feel as though you're alone, because that's an important element of all of this work. If you're just now entering, we are doing an activity that is creating 2 lists. One list is a list of things this virus has taken from you, and the second list is a list of things this virus has given to you. So go ahead and make that list, and we'll be back in about 3 or 4 minutes. Okay, 1 more minute, and then we're gonna come back. You can continue to write. If you need to, just keep your audio on. And we're gonna go ahead and go around, and you can just tell me 1 from each list. Okay, y'all, so if you need to keep writing, go ahead. But if you have 1 from each list that you can share with us, go ahead and put a hand up.
So I'll start with doing hood rat things with my friends.
Same.
And what it's given me is a reminder of my resiliency, strength, and ability to love myself.
That's so beautiful. Can you tell me a little bit about the second one, the one that it's given you?
Yeah, the shit's been trying. I'm a social person. I went into being a counselor because I like to be with people. And so when you're stuck, you think you're stuck alone, I think you forget about all the times in your life where you had to overcome more troubling situations than this. And I think it's helped me realize, like, sometimes my escape that you referred to earlier, or my numbing, was trying to be around people to forget what was bothering me. So having to be in my own mind all the time now, or a lot of the time, has taught me how to better cope with those feelings and accept those feelings, and lean on people who I know I could trust to validate those feelings.
Man, if you can feel that, raise your hand. Who else? Put your hand up if you can share with us one from each list.
There's some little blue icons that people have hands up too.
Oh, okay.
So.
Oh, yay! You can actually. Okay, I saw.
Okay, I unmuted myself. So one thing that it has taken is like my son's sports. Like I would enjoy taking him every week and weekend to games and practices and all of that. And now like it's hard to get him to go exercise like with no kids at our house, you know, and like then he used to love it. And then one thing that it has given me is like a lot of time with him and just like family time, because I would always be at school and then work, and I wouldn't pick up my son till like midnight when I would get out of work. So now I'm just like with him all day, and that's a plus.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anybody relate? Put your hand up.
Thank you.
Who else has a hand up? Oh, okay. Go ahead, girl.
Hi. I just wanted to first say that I'm volunteering at my mom's job right now, helping her out. So if it's kind of loud, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
And one thing that it took away from me was my routine. I would go to work, I would go to tutoring, and it kind of really helped me face-to-face tutoring. I was trying to get my grade up for stats. I had to retake it this semester because I failed last, and I thought this was my year. I was gonna be able to get my grade up, and so far I'm doing good, but it's still kind of, you know, like not too well, but I'm understanding it, I guess. And what I received is spending more time with my parents. Before, our routine, like with work and with me going to school, I never really like hung out with them as much, but now I'm able to see them much more.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the main ones that I want to share.
Thank you for sharing that. If you can relate to her, put a hand up. Yep. See how much more similar we are than different? Like we couldn't be more different in this room right now, but somehow we're all raising our hands because these emotions are universal, but the experiences of them are different. You see what I mean? Hey.
Yeah. Hi. So one thing it took for me was a sense of community. And then one thing it's given me is perseverance, which I learned through journalism, through the quarantine. That's weird. The sense of community, because I work in the service industry as a cashier, and I'm not a very social person. I love writing. I love solitude. So the quarantine was a piece of cake, but it took away my interaction with people and my conversations with strangers and the connection, the human connection. And I'm so grateful for the journalism, because if it wasn't for that, it forces me to really reach out to people and not give up connecting to people.
Wait, what do you mean the journalism? Are you writing articles?
Yeah, in order to have an article published, we have to have 3 sources or quotes. So we have to connect with people and get quotes from them. In order to do that, we have to telephone them or Zoom them.
Have you been doing that over this time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, not during when you're talking.
No. During quarantine. I kick you out, girl. This is.
Yeah, during the semester.
So that's cool though. I think that it's given you, those two things kind of seem in the same realm. Like it's taken your sense of community, but it's given you journalism, which also gave you a sense of community. And so, so it's like a different, it's not a physical community, but there is a social, you've made these social connections that are still valid, but I know it doesn't feel valid because our bodies need human connection. Like if this doesn't prove it to everyone, I don't know what will, because even people like you just said, like I'm fine with the isolation, or like I don't necessarily like to go out, but you see that your actual spirit has a reaction to not being around other humans. And I think a lot of times we can think that we don't need other people, but we do. We do. Who else?
Did you unmute me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, sweet. Okay, so what it took for me was it took away my ability to go to campus, you know, like, cause I'm like need to be on campus in order to keep myself like in order. So that was really hard. This been still very hard for me. Something it gave me though is now I feel like I've been able to interact with like, you know, my computers a lot better because I suck with technology. And, you know, it's just like another skill set that I could refine. So yeah, that's what it gave me. I think of this as like, I heard like a quote like a while ago. It says that, you know, every misfortune is just a mistaken opportunity. So it's like, this might be misfortunate, but this is a good opportunity now to build on myself, like, and skill set. So yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. That's real. And I'm so there with you. Like, I could not do online classes to save my life when I was in college because I have ADHD and I have a really difficult time self-starting and sustaining focus. So I would have to sit in the front row in the class and like put my phone away because otherwise I was just like, I'm wasting money being here because I can't pay attention unless I like have to force myself. So I can imagine for other people who are in college, like I kept remembering who I was around that time and being like, oh my God, I would have given up. Like I just would have given up on everything because I didn't have enough. So I admire everyone who has not given up and who has still put in work and effort to like put into their educations, because I think that when I was around that age, like 22 and all that, I would have just been like, fuck this, like gave up. And a lot of you haven't. And so I'm proud of you.
I have ADHD also. So that's why I was like, I need to be there as well. Like, you know, so yeah, I feel you.
Who else? Oh, we got a second page. If you don't want to share, that's fine. I do have a point I'm going to get to.
One thing that has been taken is the ability to be with folks physically. We've created a community there at PCC, and you know, even just something like having lunch with someone and just talking about whatever comes up. I think that's something that I took for granted, and you know, looking back, once this is all over, those are going to be more precious moments for me. One thing that I've gained is emotional growth. So before I was able to, like if I had a particular argument or something with my partner or with my family, I was able to leave and go to work or leave and go to school and leave and just go somewhere.
Yeah.
Now I can't. Now I have to stay and share the emotions that I'm going through, share what triggered me, share what is going on. So I think that emotional growth, I think is bigger than this, you know, pandemic. It's bigger than all this, because when, you know, this eventually ends, that emotional growth, I'm able to share with other folks and let them know how I'm feeling and able to hear them with a different perspective.
Yes. If you can relate to that, put your hand up. Man, I feel you so much. I think that this has given me the I've had to learn how to say sorry, because usually I could just leave and then come back when I wasn't mad no more and my mom wasn't mad no more, and it, you know, and so exactly like you're talking about. And like, but the learning, saying sorry feels so good. I never knew. I never realized how much acknowledging your portion of something and being like, I'm ready to move on, like how much letting go of something can just like lighten your spirit. And so I totally agree with you. Emotional growth is huge.
Actually wrote down that it took external freedoms like hanging out with friends, being outdoors. But what it gave me is internal freedoms, which is healing, figuring out who I am, really embracing the individual that I am. So I'm looking at it as, yeah, I've lost some freedoms, but I'm gaining some internal freedoms, which when we're ready to go out, I'll be more resilient in the Chingona that I am. So
that's right. It will only serve you. And that's kind of the point of this whole thing, the turning pain into power, is that you turn pain into power the moment you acknowledge that the moment you go towards the pain instead of running from it, because you can acknowledge that what on the other side of that pain is growth. And I'm not going to run from it anymore because I'm trying to get there. The farther I run, the slower the process. And that's a big one. Anyone else like to share?
One thing this took for me is normalcy, like things being normal. That's part of the rutina too. And I'm gonna share what it gave my daughter. She was listening in the background and she said, you know what it gave me? She's 11 years old. And she said it gave her the opportunity to be thankful for what we have, because we take it for granted so much. And that led me to think of the homies that are still doing time, you know. We take for granted even our freedom in quarantine. So I would like to take time in solidarity for everyone still doing time, recognizing that they're quarantined all day, every day. And it's really hard because they can't even go out for a walk or go out to get Grubhub, bring the food to their cell. You know, they have state food coming to their cell. So I want to just say how thankful I am that I can be in quarantine in a Zoom with all y'all. And that things are gonna get good, and they're gonna get even better because we are chingonas and chingones.
Hey, oh my God, you just gave me so much life right now.
Before like the quarantine, everyone didn't think of anything like being like, they didn't think anything that we had, and now that we have this quarantine, everyone's like, oh my gosh, this blah blah blah, oh my gosh, this blah blah blah. I can't believe like now we have to be grateful for what we have, because before we had it and we didn't think anything of it, but now we really do think of something of it.
Yeah, that's great. So it's giving you gratitude, huh?
Yeah.
What's something it took from you?
My friends.
Yeah. And that and at 11 years old, that's the world, the moon, and the stars. I feel you, girl. I remember that. And I totally understand. That sucks. Like, you could just acknowledge it. That sucks. But I'm so glad you got gratitude.
What's up? Yeah, actually, it was your comment that kind of brought something up, right? And can't quite remember right now, but because I was on a different page. What I wanted to bring up about this whole thing, right? For me personally, I'm a little different, right? Like I do self-discipline. At one point when I was a kid, I grew up in the streets, and I was homeless, whatever. When I was young, you know, I didn't stay at the homies or whatever. And as I got older and I got on my feet and I had my own spot, and I found myself start to slack, I would slip, you know what I mean? But when I was start to slack, I would go and purposely go and sleep in the park for a night, you know what I mean? I would go and stay out all night in the cold. You know what I mean? It was just like a form of self-discipline. It was something I had learned, you know what I mean? Just from different people, you know what I mean? That we were blessed and whatnot. You know what I mean? Just little topics and whatnot. And like before all this happened, I was dealing with something else, and I ran from it. You know what I mean? It was basically my health. So I ran to it and I started partying. And then I was trying to get back out, you know what I mean? Get back to it and get focused with it. You know what I mean? Because it was basically all my health shit, you know? And I was trying to get back to it. And then this happened. And you know what I mean? But when this happened with the quarantine with everybody, it kind of gave me that sense of like a community, because before it happened, like I was trying to figure all this out on my own. You know what I mean? In terms of like my health and dealing with all these, you know what I mean? I have issues that I'm not gonna bring up, you know, with doctors and whatnot, but it's all medical stuff. And where I live, I'm pretty much no sense of community. You know what I mean? No contact with nobody. Unfortunately, people that come over to see me, I don't get the message, you know? So I kind of went downhill, and this actually kind of went ahead and helped, you know what I mean? Like it kind of brought that sense of community, you know what I mean? That it brought that, you know what I mean, that piece that was missing, and kind of brought me back up to where, okay, this is what I'm, you know what I mean? I can get back with this, you know what I mean? It wasn't like I wasn't actually alone. So,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I kind of learned to appreciate that.
That's great. Thank you. If you can agree with that, or if you feel that. Yep, a lot of us. Anyone else? Trying to see. Okay, well, I think we're gonna move on. I thank everybody for sharing. All of your stories are extremely, they're so unique, but they're not. You know what I mean? They're so unique, but they're just not. And the reason why they're not is because we can all understand what you're saying. And even though we haven't been there, we've been there, and we know that that emotion exists in some way and how it made us feel. And so that's how we use empathy to create community, by actually sharing your experiences, as opposed to going into a classroom and the only one that talks is the teacher. Because that's not how it works. At least that's not how it has worked with me. The more experiences, the better. Everyone has wisdom, everyone has knowledge, everyone has experiences that the next person may have not even considered before, and something that they shared today may have given them something to think about that they hadn't thought about before. And it's like all of these moments and these opportunities for growth come as a result of this collective healing that we're all seeking, you know? And I had to take the list of the things that it had taken from me, and I had marinated on that for a while. And so I had to think about the word take, you know? Usually when we use the word take, we mean that something of ours was taken without our permission, which is, I think, why it was causing me so much pain. Because I felt that my year had been taken from me. All of those things, my opportunity to shine, my income that I was gonna make, the merch, the moves I was gonna make, and all the people I was gonna prove wrong, right? And that's the ego. That's the ego talking. Because my goal was supposed to have been healing. But instead, I was worried about what I looked like on the outside to other people. Hold on, the gardener came. Great, it's gonna be loud. My bad. Anyways, so like I said, when we think of the word take, we usually mean that something was taken from us. But what if instead of it being taken, all those things, what if I just gave them away? Like, what if I just let it go? Like, I thought about it, and I was talking to my therapist, but I didn't come to this conclusion on my own. I want y'all to know I'm not that smart. I came to this conclusion in therapy with the assistance of my therapist, but yes, it was my like little moment of enlightenment, but it was sparked because of the conversation I was having already. I had to show up to the therapy appointment on the phone. You know, I had to be willing, I had to have gone to try to find a therapist in the first place. There's so many steps that had to happen in order for me to come to that conclusion, which was, wait a minute, like, start to acknowledge the things that are serving me and the things that are not. Because let me tell you, every single time I would get a Google alert, and let me tell you how calculated and methodical I had my year planned out. Next to every single event or gig I had planned, in my Google Calendar, I put the amount of money I was making. And so every single time a damn Google alert pops up about a workshop I was supposed to be at, a university campus I was gonna be at, a conference, whatever it was, I get this stupid like pop-up reminder of the bag I was missing, basically. And I had to turn those alerts off because I needed to release that. It was like, it was weighing me down in such an ugly way. And it was like, every single time that it would happen, it would be like a little drive-by. Like, it would just be like, I wouldn't even realize that that was gonna pop up on my calendar. And then my heart would sink in this weird way of like, me feeling shame, or like I was behind in the race. Like, first of all, what race? Like, who am I competing with? I was competing with an idea of what success looks like, but the real success, the real glow up is internal. And that is what you will always have to know to be true. And so I thought about it, and I got to this conclusion. What was like, what if instead of it being taken from me, like, what if I just gave this, all of the expectations that I had for this year, what if I just released them? And like, how would that power dynamic change? Like, what would it mean for me? And I spoke to, so that was in a healing, like, I came up with the question in therapy, but then I posed the question in healing. So I also see a healer named Jennifer, and she has been extremely transformative for me, like learning from her and Because like I said, there's the doctor for the body, and then there's the doctors for the spirits. And those are the poets, those are the teachers, those are the artists. And so I might not be able to help you break a bone, but shit, if we can heal our emotional selves, let's do it together, you know? And so I spoke to her and I said, Jen, I have this question, like, how do I release these expectations? Like, I don't know how to do that. I have never even seen that in my life. How do I know how to do that? And you know what she said? She gave me a prescription. I'm just kidding. She gave me a prescription, but it was for an activity. And so I had made this list, and I read her the list, and then she said, okay, now you have 2 options for this list of taken, because taken is the list that needs to be released. You're gonna take the given list and you're gonna post it where you can see it. You're gonna take the taken list and you're going to get a bowl and you're going to burn it. Or you can take the bowl and take it outside, and you can take the list and bury it. Either way, if you burn it, you need to give the ashes back to the grass, go back in your house and start over. That's it. That's how you release it. Give it back to wherever it came from, because guess where this pandemic came from? The earth. So if it can take care of that, it can take care of this. So you can release your expectations and give them back and send them back to where they came from, and you can choose to start over. And starting over means that you say, this sucks and this hurt me and this doesn't feel good at all, but I'm not gonna run from it. I'm not gonna run from it this time. I'm just gonna let myself feel it, because you know what, I have time, finally. The time might not be my favorite. I might not be in my favorite place. It might not be ideal. But the one thing we got an abundance of right now is time. So, I mean, that's what I've been using it to do, and I only hope that I can encourage you to do the same. That's basically all I have to say about that. I feel like Forrest Gump. Does anyone have anything they want to say, or questions or concerns or complaints?
I just want to jump in and acknowledge that you just took 1 hour to walk us through letting go of expectations and gave us a concrete way to heal in 1 hour. And that's super powerful.
Bird is back.
I know we don't have much time left. I want to give space for Angela to close, and I want to let you all know that the last 4 minutes, please stay on, because we have a really quick poll and there's like some funny answers, so it'll be like a fun thing. It's really quick, so let's give the next 5 or 6 minutes to close, and then we'll do our poll.
So thank you so much, all of y'all, for being here, for sharing with me, and for being so open, and just for listening to me, because sometimes I just show up and I hope I say the right thing, and I don't know if I do or not, but I do it anyway. I show up anyway, you know? Sometimes you do a good job when you show up to work. This is my work. So I'm just hoping that that I'm answering that call, and you know, I'm proud of all of you for being here, because I know that you could have been anywhere else in the world, but you're here with me. Just kidding, you can only be at your house. But you chose to be here and you didn't have to. And so that means a lot to me. And so if you want to keep up with me, you can follow me on Instagram, Millennial Mija. And then I also have a podcast where I've been doing mental health checks with my friends, like during quarantine, but friends who I always have like really dope conversations with, or people that I think are just like interesting, and people I consider my teachers. So if you liked hearing me talk today, maybe you'll like my podcast. It's called the Millennial Mija Podcast, and it's streaming everywhere. So I thank you all for having me, and if anyone else has a question or anything, you can ask it, or if you want to say anything, go ahead, but I ran out of words.
Can you emphasize on your coping mechanisms?
Right now they are every day around like 7 o'clock like when it's not too hot, because I will think of any excuse to get out of physical activity. So I wait until I can't make a complaint and I go on a walk and I put on my podcast and I listen, not my podcast, oh my God, imagine. And I listen to myself. No, I listen to Brene Brown, Unlocking Us. This podcast will change your life. And so what I am committed to, as you can see, is healing. What I'm not necessarily committed to is giving up snacks or like sweating. So I just call it my podcast walk. And it started as like a kind of like, all right, I'll go for 15 minutes, like just to get out of the house. My mom getting on my nerves. It started from that. And now I go for like an hour and a half, however long the podcast is, that's how long my exercise is. And I find myself like sitting in the park and just like being like, why do I not do this more, you know? And then also after I get off for my walk, then I feel like a little bit more empowered to like make myself dinner. So I've been like experimenting with random foods that some of them do not go together and then other of them are really good. So like busying myself, but like with a new skill. So like I was like fairly good at cooking, but now I'm like raising my stock a little bit because I'm like adding just different spices. So I'm like playing with that. And then also the writing. In moments of extreme anger or extreme frustration or just extreme sadness, like the best is stream of consciousness writing. And then if you read back what you wrote while you're upset, you can start to identify your own triggers. And when you identify your own triggers, the shit that makes you mad or sad, you have a huge advantage on life. You have such a huge advantage. So I highly recommend that, to start like keeping a daily journal or a pissed off journal. And whenever you're really pissed off, like write exactly what you want to say to the other person or exactly what's bothering you. And then later read it back and start to kind of find the common themes. So there's that. And then just like sitting outside as much as possible.
Thank you for this, Angie. It's been really great to hear it and to hear it from your perspective. I really love the I'm not going to run from it. Really love kind of the acknowledgement of pain, because on the other side of that is growth, and on the other side of pain is power. That really makes a lot of sense. When I was seeing my therapist, he was really trying to get me to lean into the stuff that I was really worried about. And this is like another way of putting it, the idea of not running and acknowledging the stuff that kind of I was trying to run from, that I was afraid of, right? But really trying to figure out, well, how do I acknowledge it? How do I lean into it? And knowing that doing the work of acknowledging this pain, that a lot of the time we're afraid of acknowledging the pain, but understanding that doing the work will actually lead to resilience and empowerment. And I have to remind myself of that every day, right? So, thank you for sharing those experiences, because it really kind of helps give examples of what that looks like and how empowering this process can be.
Thank you so much. That actually, have you heard of Glennon Doyle? She's also, so Brene Brown, Marianne Williamson, Glennon Doyle, Oprah, all of these people are like spiritual teachers. They're kind of like the same thing that I do, but I'm just nowhere near that scale of it. But it's just like people who speak from the heart. That's it. And so all of these people, when they speak together, those conversations are completely epic. And what Glennon Doyle talks about is the hot loneliness that rises up when you're by yourself. And that when it starts to bubble over and you're like, oh, well, maybe I could smoke a blunt, or maybe I could get some wine, or maybe I should get some cookies, or maybe I can watch some more Netflix, or like how can I get away from this pain, or this pain of being alone? Or because when you're alone, that's when all of the whatever it is that you haven't tried to be feeling, that's when it starts to come up. And so she says that when you sit in the hot loneliness, that is the journey of the healer. That's the journey of the warrior. And you in order to get to a place where you can be in a position to share your experience and have it mean something, is if you've done it. So you can't get there to that like wise mind or whoever that we all have that person in us. That's like sometimes you act from that place and you feel really good about yourself, and then other times you act from your little kid inside of you that's just being petty or immature. And so to get to that more of that other person, the wise person, what she talks about is you have to be willing to sit in the hot loneliness. But once you do, the reward is greater than any other. So I'm barely starting to see any of the fruits of that. So I'll report back once I go all the way. But other than that, I feel you. Thank you for sharing that, Anthony.
It's just sit in hot loneliness. I know that. But is it Glenn and Doyle? How do you spell that?
She's an addict. Glennon, Glennon. Last
Got
name
it. Okay.
Doyle. The best thing she has available right now is a Super Soul Conversation with Oprah, and she talks about her book Untamed. This is mind blowing what she talks about, and I highly recommend everything she has available.
This whole situation has kind of forced me to start this mindfulness meditation stuff that I had been putting off forever, despite all my therapist recommendations, doctors, everybody. And one thing I learned from it is to appreciate the time that we give ourselves when we take care of ourselves, and just to be in the present moment. So I just want to acknowledge myself and everybody here. And thank you, Angela, for this, because this was fucking awesome. I feel great right now.
So glad.
Just acknowledging the fact that we took this time for ourselves to just be present and heal. And for whatever the reason that you came, that one word that you said at the beginning, whatever that reason was, like, I hope that we accomplished that today. And I feel like I did. I feel like healing was my word, and I feel like I've healed a little bit today, and I thank you. I thank everybody for being here.
Oh, it's a love fest. My heart is so full. Such a beautiful, just benediction. But the Glennon Doyle's first TED Talk is called Lessons from the Mental Hospital. That's what I wanted to say. Watch that TED Talk. She's the one that's one of the OG teachers of, not OG, but she talks about turning pain into power, and through her addiction and through her experience with being in the mental hospital. So yes, that's what I needed to say. I feel like everybody kind of got to a place of whatever their word was. I think that was you setting an intention. That's as easy as it is. It's just saying why you woke up today, and you have 50-50 shot of making it happen. But if you don't even set the intention, you don't have a shot at all.
I just wanted to, before we close, let everyone know, regardless of whether you're a PCC student, staff, community member, someone, a student from another school, CORE is here for you. Reach out to us if you need to process any emotions that came up. We can help you with that. Our advocates are always here for you, especially to my students, but to everyone that's on here. Please reach out.
And I'm so glad that I was here with y'all. I love y'all. Thank you so much for listening. Bye.